My name is Tanya T. Morris. I am a author, life designer, and social entrepreneur. I do a little bit of everything. I'm a community engagement expert. I've been doing community engagement for nonprofits for over 10 years. And actually, my books were birthed out of my experiences that I've had while working in the nonprofit sector. Well, it's funny because according to my mom, I've been writing since I was about 10 or 11 years old. I think all writers start with poetry and short stories and all of those kind of things. And so it was just something innately that was in me. I don't feel like I've done anything throughout the day if I haven't written something down in one way or another, whether it's a note, whether it's an idea, whether it's dialogue or anything like that. So I wanted to be the female Spike Lee when I was in college. And so I've got a couple plays under my belt, a couple film scripts, a couple TV shows. And so I've always just loved writing. Well, this actually is a term that I coined as part of my brand, and that makes me different from a life coach because we added the design element to say that we want to really help you reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, reinvent your company, whether it be personally or professionally. And so it's really about creating a design plan, an action plan that really is tailored to who you are and where you are. My thing is I like to meet people exactly where they are and work with them from that point to getting to the next level of where it is that they really want to be. It's all about the quality, you know what I mean? I think my greatest impetus though is probably my faith, my faith in God and really how he speaks to me through words and really wanting to motivate and empower people, to do and to be their best. I think, my first book was really something that came by accident. I was working at a halfway house, a transitional house for men and women that were offenders. And a young man came in, 19 years old, had been abused physically, mentally, and emotionally by his mom. And I was doing life skills classes, what they called them, talking about anger management and all that different stuff. And I was really into Les Brown at that time, so I would sometimes show them a Les Brown video. And Vernon said to me, Miss Morris, you could be like Les Brown. And that was really the impetus for my first book. And out of all the writing that I've done, I never wanted to be an author. And Vernon really was the impetus for me writing my first book and he inspired me to really inspire others with divine inspiration, the process of fulfilling your divine destiny. Well, Drop Your Baggage was really about overcoming obstacles. So many times we carry around stuff that is holding us back from achieving and reaching our goals. But additionally, we're carrying around stuff that don't even belong to us. We're carrying other folks' stuff, and it's just weighing us down and weighing us down. And that was really what I talk about in Drop Your Baggage. And at that time, I was in the process of losing my house. And I had been through foreclosure, and I was one of the major things that I put in that book was I was a big fan of Extreme Makeover Home Edition. So I really took the home buying process and showed people how to apply it to their life. Getting an appraisal, right? When you buy a house, you get an appraisal, you assess the foundation of what is the foundation of your life built on. Here's how do you create a blueprint for your life. And then we talked about having a design team, having people around you that had the gifts and the talents and the skills that you may not necessarily possess. I tell folk all the time, if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. If your goal is to really go to the next level and really strive to do some great things in life.
Enter the zone. Enter the zone. Enter the zone. Enter the zone.
You know, The Power of One, that's my new baby. That took about 1.5 years to write because, you know, writing is an interesting thing because I marvel at the T.D. Jakeses and the Joyce Meyers and the Terry McMillans and of the world that can spit out books. Fiction's a little different. It's a different path that you take, I think, to fiction. But the nonfiction, you know, requires a little bit more input. And at the time when I started that, I had also just started a new business with a young lady that I was mentoring. I had just started grad school, getting the MBA at Strayer. And so the book kind of took a back seat for a little while, but I had a goal to finish it before I turned 50. And so we got it done and we got it out. But I really talk about the power of one is that we each have an opportunity to impact lives in 3 particular areas: stewardship, mentorship, and leadership. My book is dedicated to the late, great Jerry Mondesire, who was my mentor. Jerry gave me a job as a writer, reporter at The Sun, fresh out of college, didn't know what I was doing, didn't ask me what I was doing, told me, here's the story, go write about it. I was like, what? Here's the story, go write about it. And so I'm just, you know, I will always love him for that and appreciate him for that. And so those are the things that we really talk about, you know, leadership, stewardship, and mentorship. You can have a tremendous, tremendous impact on somebody's life in those 3 areas. I understand that writing, you speak from your experience. I get that as a writer. So even in fiction, and I've been going back and forth whether or not I was going to do some fiction at some point, but I'm in a different place now, and I'm 50. You know what I'm saying? Maybe when I was 25, and so, you know, I could have wrote something different. But I understand people speaking from their experience. Now check this out: it may not necessarily be a personal experience, but it could be an influenced experience by the community they live in, by television, by social media. And so one thing that those type of books add is diversity. I will give them credit for that. they add diversity. And I will never knock them for that. But, you know, I was at an event, Will and Sister Soldier did a sit down together over at Temple. And she said something that I thought was very powerful, which was that this was not black fiction, that this was literature. And I applaud her for making that distinction and separating herself from the type of books that we're talking about. She made a clear distinction. This is literature. And I don't know if Black Dolls Baby and Sister this and, you know, my man did that. I don't know if they can really make that distinction, that authentic distinction in a lot of ways. So, you know, I understand that people speak from their experiences. I don't disregard them. I applaud anybody that has the courage to put anything down on paper. But I was a big fan growing up of Paula Giddings and Terry McMillan and Toni Morrison and J. California Cooper. Those were the people that I read growing up. And I think there's the potential there to write those kind of novels and to bring those stories to life if you put the time in and the work in it. They can do that. True. Brenda Thomas is a good friend of mine. And so, and Brenda told her story, you know, and you know, she's a domestic violence survivor. And, you know, she told her story, and she was committed to telling her story, and she told it in a way that only Brenda could. And she has a new book out as well. I haven't had a chance to get it, but I think what you're speaking to, and this is part of the creative process of speaking from experience only. So if all you're going to do is just regurgitate your experience, my question to some of those authors would be, is that really writing? Right. Is that literature? Right. Like Soldier tells a story. Right. See? And Brenda tells a story. Right. J. California told stories, man. I mean, I remember my godmother sharing J. California Cooper with me as a young girl. I might have been about 12 or 13 when Karen first turned me on, and she really gave me my love of reading and of books. And I tell authors all the time, or writers, you will not, or you cannot be a great writer if you do not read. That's where that language thing that you're talking about, so you're just talking from your experiences, but when you become a storyteller, that comes from writing and reading. You know, somebody, they were J. California Cooper. You asked one of them young ladies you talking about who that is, I guarantee you, if they knew, I'd be surprised. I would be really impressed, honestly. I would be really, really impressed. But that's how you mature as a writer. You know, that's how you mature, right? It's really about the process. And because those books sell money, they make money. Those books make money. Nobody is really working with them through their creative, artistic storytelling process. You know, they don't have a mentor like I had, like Jeremiah Desire and Elmer Smith when I was at the Daily News. They don't have the Brenda Thomases or the Mr. Man Frisbees that I had when I, you know, and that I mentored as well. They didn't have that, and it reflects in the writing. I was at an event about my book, and just to piggyback on what you said when you was conversing with your dad, I was telling her a friend of mine runs a bookstore, and she read my book. She loved my book, but she said, "Tanya, your book could be more excellent." And when I told this young lady that we were editing and making revisions on a book that was already out, she couldn't fathom it. She was like, "Really?" Yes, because if it can be better, we want to make it better. That's part of the creative process. You're not gonna sit down and write a soldier story in one shot. It's just not gonna happen. And so you wonder, and see, a lot of them think, right, that there's stuff like disappearing, that I'm gonna write something and it's gonna become a movie or play. And listen, it's almost 20 years since she first wrote, you know, her first book, and the film rights are still being fought over, and like, it don't happen like that. I hate to break it to y'all. So, but one thing that I like to tell people all the time is the first step is, one, write from your heart. That's the first thing. Get it out. Just get it out. Don't think about the grammar. Don't think about what the vocabulary is. Don't think about your punctuation. Don't think about what somebody else is going to think. Don't think about any of that. Get it out. The second thing is once you get it out, then you have to find you a good professional editor. You have to do it. When I wrote Drop Your Baggage, I had to. Friend of mine who has an MBA in publications management from Drexel, and then she sent it to somebody else. For Power of One, I'm now working with Sherelle. I'm on editor number 3. I mean, we really have to understand, and it goes back to what you said about criticism. You cannot have thin skin in this writing game, not just this writing game, this creative game. You cannot be thin skinned. You can't. And when Sherelle first said to me, "Tanya, the book is excellent. I mean, I'm so moved, I'm so touched, but it could be better." Well, what was I going to say? No? Well, I don't want to revise it no more. I don't want it to be the best that it can be. Where do we start? That's what I said. And so that's the thing. You got to get a good, creative, talented, professional editor. The third thing is be clear on your vision and what you want your book to do. Who you want it to reach, what you want it to do. You got to be clear about that, who your audience is. Be clear. You can't be, I'm writing, my book is for everybody. I've been in marketing for years, and one thing that they tell you about in marketing is that you have to know your target. Okay, you got to have that bullseye. You got to narrow it down as far as you got to drill that thing down. And it's the same thing with who you're writing to. You got to be able to know your target. And then when you know that, marketing and putting your book out becomes easy. One thing, see, the other thing is folks think they're gonna go get this book deal and they're gonna blow up. Let me explain something to you. Even when you get a book deal, and understand that the author is still responsible for marketing their own book. That is so key. First time Brenda told me that, I was like, oh, yeah, you still, you still, in my first book, and even Drop Your Baggage, I was writer, part-time editor, publisher, publicist, distributor. I did it all. And I was talking to a publishing company, and they said, you know, Tanya, what you did, that's self-publishing. People don't really understand. She said, but what you did, that's truly self-publishing. And so you have to really understand, and this is the other thing I would say, educate yourself on the process. Because right now, what we're selling is different from what we were selling 20 years ago. We're selling content. Because of the internet, and social media, and television, we are selling content.
That's right.
I'm doing workshops out of my book now. I didn't do that with the other books. We're selling content now, and you got to be mindful of that when you write. Well, you can always reach me. My website is www.thepowerofthet.com. You know, power, I'm all about the power. So powerofthet.com, Tanya at thepowerofthet.com. Just shoot me an email, whether it be coaching, speaking. Or you just got to hit me up, and I'll tell you all about it. I'll tell you all about it. Thepowerofthet.com, Tanya at thepowerofthet.com.